Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and today I just wanted to talk about 5 of my favourite horror films that are on 4K. So these aren't necessarily my 5 favourite films of all time or my 5 favourite horror films of all time. These are just 5 really solid horror films that happen to be on the 4K format. So without any further ado, let's get started with a release that came out very recently. This year, 2022, and it's Ty West's X. So this is a German media book release of the film X. And so we've got Mia Goth on the front here and Brittany Snow on the back here. And yeah, this release is superb. So for those of you that don't know, X is the story of a group of people that are sort of looking to independently make a adult film. And Mia Goth is wanting to be the next big adult star, and they go to a secluded farmhouse sort of property to make this film, but the owners of this farmhouse property don't know why they're there. Things start to get weird and it just goes from there, so I won't spoil any more. But the film is very much a love letter to sort of 70s horror and exploitation. And it looks like it was filmed in the period, but without it being too like artificial for the time period it's supposed to be replicating. So it's extremely well made in my opinion. And yeah, I haven't seen Pearl yet because it wasn't available in any theaters near to me when it came out, but I'm looking forward to the physical media release of Pearl because I've heard that Mia Goth is incredible in that film, and she's really good in this as well. So yeah, this 4K disc is fantastic. It's got a great soundtrack, colors is very vibrant, and yeah, can't fault it, and it's a really good film. Next up is a film that was maligned for years, and it's only in recent years that it's had a reappraisal, and a lot of people now regard it as one of the greatest sort of horror films of the 1980s. And I'm talking about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. So I absolutely adore this artwork on here. So this is the Scream Factory release. So it's the 4K set that came out last year from Halloween 1 to 5. And for my money, this is the best looking presentation of all those films. In fact, they all look very good. But for me, this is the best one. There's so many vibrant Halloween sort of colors, and yeah, I just absolutely adore this film and this transfer. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch tells the story of a madman trying to kill millions of children by making them all really excited to wear these specific Halloween masks. So as we see on the front, we have the skull, the witch, and the pumpkin, or the skeleton. And there's like these ad campaigns for these children to be wearing their masks and they're trick-or-treating or watching television, and it's all a ploy to basically kill many children, and it's all sort of related to ancient sort of rituals and things like that from where Halloween came from. And it's an absolute blast. It's very autumnal and very Halloween-y type film. And yeah, it really deserves its reappraisal in recent years because it's an absolute classic. And if it didn't have the Halloween 3 sort of title attached to it, Season of the Witch would have been regarded as one of the classics of 80s horror cinema a long time ago. Next up is probably one of the best 4K discs I've ever seen, regardless of genre. And I'm talking about Synapse's release of Suspiria, Dario Argento's Suspiria from 1977. This, yeah, as I said, it's contender for the best 4K disc I've ever seen. If you've seen Suspiria, you know that this is a very colourful film. Colours are very important in this film, and it's an absolute visual sort of feast to take in. And the 4K here is so well done. It is incredible from Synapse. This is the only release I have from Synapse, but I'll be intrigued to see what else I can pick up from them in the future, things that I'm interested in. But yeah, so if you haven't seen Suspiria before, it tells the story of a young woman looking to join a sort of prestigious dance academy, and strange things begin to happen. I don't know how to talk about this film without spoiling it if you've never seen it before, but basically the Dance Academy is not what it appears to be, and yeah, we'll leave it there. It's a masterpiece. If you're into horror and you're watching this, you've probably seen Suspiria, but if you haven't, it's a great place to start with Dario Argento. It's not my favorite Dario Argento film. That belongs to probably Deep Red, but this film is definitely the better picture quality and sort of format picture upgrade and everything like that. And the soundtrack, oh my days, the soundtrack, the Goblin soundtrack is incredible. One of the greatest horror movie soundtracks of all time, in my personal opinion, and it absolutely slays on this disc as well. So you get the visuals and the audio all coming together to make one of the greatest audio-visual 4K discs I've ever seen. Next up, something from the classical period of horror, Universal horror, and my personal favourite Universal horror film, and it's 1931's Frankenstein, directed by James Whale. So for me, Frankenstein is the best Universal horror monster, and this film is just incredibly well made. It's very much a tragic story about the monster being brought into a world that was never prepared to accept him or help him, and he's ostracized from society. Boris Karloff's famous turn as Frankenstein is legendary, and this is a very, very good example of how a black and white film from the 1930s can be restored and given a HDR grade to make it look like it was filmed yesterday. This is such a wonderful presentation. It is a studio release from Universal, but it is, can't deny, it's one of the better 4K discs, particularly of a black and white film, that I've seen. And yeah, absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked out Frankenstein or other Universal horror monster films in 4K, I highly recommend giving them a go, because if you've got the setup for it, you'll see just how vibrant, how the clarity in the blacks and the whites and just all the various different shadows and stuff, and just the clarity is just utterly sumptuous to take in. And yeah, this is one of my favorite horror films of all time. So absolutely love having this, and I do quite enjoy this steelbook. And last but certainly not least is a film released by a company that I think are doing some of the best 4K work in the market right now. And I'm talking about Blue Underground and their release of Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Yeah, this is such a great film. Again, like Suspiria, this has one of my favorite horror movie soundtracks, the pulsating synth score, and it has some of the most incredible practical effects and zombies. The zombie trope is very much overplayed today, in my opinion. I don't tend to watch a lot of zombie films, but I cannot deny that this is an absolute classic of Italian horror. Lucio Fulci is one of my favorite directors of all time, and yeah, this disc is superb. The picture quality, the sound quality. Yeah, I love this, that I have the slip for this, because this is really sought after. So there's just 5 4K horror films that I think are worthy of your time to look into and check out. But yeah, let me know if you've seen any of these 4K discs and what you thought of them. Are there any 4K discs that you think may be a little under the radar, that are not always talked about in the community? And yeah, so until next time, everyone, take care.